George, he repeats the message in every single answer. It is time to bring people together again. That's what I can do. And he's convinced that this is the moment for that message.
He has perfect pitch, I think, for the mood of the country, which is a flinch from the rhetorical vitriol that is consuming this town. He's a little bit like Ronald Reagan in this regard. Reagan used to drive people crazy on the Democratic Party because they'd say, public doesn't agree with him on this or this or this or this, and they vote for him. They voted for him because they said, we like him, he's not off-putting, he's not frightening. And I think this is another 1980.
But Sam, is that enough if you're 45 years old, a freshman senator, African-American?
Well, Reagan had different pitches, like the great actor he was. I'm paying for this microphone, Mr. Breen. In watching your interview, very attractive once again, had a lot of answers that made a lot of sense to a lot of people. But he's the non-politician this year. And I think at the end of the day, when you have a toothache, you go to the dentist. You don't go to the non-dentist dentist. You go to the guy who's done it and done it for years and years.
That's the Hillary message.
I'm just fascinated by this. I mean, I think that we're going to watch this campaign just with our eyes wide open, saying, "Gee, what's going to happen next?" Which is a lot of fun to be in that position. I agree with George. It's not just the vitriol of this town, though. It's the vitriol of the airwaves. All of that I think people are sick to death of. On Mother's Day, it's this idea of children behave. And he's sending that message not only to the country, but as he said in your interview, to the world. And what I keep picking up is a different texture to the excitement around Obama. It's not the same as this year's non-politician politician. I know that that's part of it, but I think there's something more to it than that. And people's level of excitement is huge, and I don't know how that plays out.
Well, excuse me, but it's not just this town. The country, though, saying it wants something different, really in some senses doesn't want something different. It's like when we say, well, negative ads are terrible. Negative ads are terrible. They work. They will continue to work. So you've got to have someone who energizes it. Yes, screaming and yelling, it's been a good living for me, but screaming and yelling may not do it all the time. But I was watching your interview, and I must tell you, George, the first half I was intensely interested in, and then I began to get on to the way he was answering. And the second half, if you will look at that interview again, one of those shots when he was talking to a crowd, you were illustrating how he was, look at the guy in the lower right hand. He was asleep. I'm serious. Look at
and he does do that pretty consciously.
I don't understand why you're saying he's a non-politician. He's not just a politician. He says, I'm a Chicago politician, and that's the big leagues.
Right.
Furthermore,
do you mean dead bodies will vote for him?
Well, he's lucky.
Joe Klein in Time magazine has a very interesting point on the experience issue. He says there have been 5 occasions since 1960, beginning with that, when the least experienced man beat the more experienced man. Kennedy beats Nixon in 1960. Carter beats an incumbent president in 1976. Reagan in 1980 beats incumbent President Jimmy Carter. In 1992, Bill Clinton, governor of Arkansas, beats one of the best resumes in American political history, the first Bush. And George W. Bush in 2000 beats Al Gore, congressman, senator, vice president.
Well, the exception of Kennedy, governors win. Thank you.
But there's no question, Coach. I mean, George's chronology is exactly right. Barack's bet is that the new face is going to win, but Hillary's bet is that experience is going to matter to the hardest core Democrats in the end. They're not going to take a chance.
Well, I think there's a lot of truth to that they're so eager to win that they want to go with what's safe rather than what's
Anything
exciting.
Wrong with that?
And there was some truth to that in 1992 with Clinton versus Cuomo, for instance, that that there was, not that Cuomo ever got in, but that there was they sort of loved Cuomo but felt safer that Clinton was going to win. What he has done is take away one of her great attributes, which was the excitement about her being the first woman. And that is still there, and she is doing much better among women than she is among men.
And still beating him among African Americans.
But that, I think, is shifting, and there have been some interesting interviews along that
But she has other
subject.
great attributes, and one of them is named Bill.
Well,
I think this may be a time when we say you can't transfer popularity. Usually I think that's correct. I think this may be a time when her husband's popularity, in the Democratic Party particularly, can transfer.
And she is not going to be shy about using him, George. She talks about making him an ambassador to the world if she wins.
Yeah, well, let's get some overseas.
Maybe he wants to be there.
I think you will see when the times get muscular on the part of Obama, he will say it's time for a change, and Clinton, Bush, Clinton, or Bush, Clinton,
Right.
Bush, Clinton is not change.
I think that's very much part of it, and you certainly hear that in the people you would call the political class. The political operatives have sort of had it with Bush, Clinton, Bush, Clinton.
Well,
And,
the question is, as the country, and the other part of that message is that Koki, that bringing people together is something he is convinced Hillary can't do because their team thinks she's a polarizing figure.
well, and the polls to some degree show that. Less polarizing apparently than John McCain, Rudy Giuliani, or Mitt Romney at the moment, but still polarizing. And he not only, as I was starting to say in your interview, he talked about bringing the world together. That's the other thing you pick up from people, is that at a time when the United States is seen around the world as not the most popular country, now that's got a whole lot of layers to it, but that he is somebody who could bring a more positive image of America. And I think that's something that's very
Every single
strong.
time Bill Clinton says the most optimistic candidate wins.
In your first question to me, and in your interview with him, you raised something, let's just put on the table. He's an African American. Is the country ready? Well, I think it is. And he said he thinks it is. He said he thinks he'll lose some votes because of that. And so the question is, what does the word some mean? In critical elections, not just in the South, it may mean something.
Well, sure. And it could be huge, but I think the fact that we're having this conversation is just wonderful. I mean, the idea that we are at this point in 2007, if you had told us that 40 years ago, when we were having all the civil rights debates, that we would be talking very seriously about a black man being president of the United States in 2008, we would not have believed
Maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm naive, but Sam, I guess I think that anyone who's not going to vote for Barack Obama because he is black isn't going to vote for a Democrat anyway. And I wonder if there are as many people who will vote for him because
More.
that's
Many
the
more.
question.
I mean, the place where Barack Obama really helps is in Montgomery County, Pennsylvania, right outside Philadelphia.
Exactly.
Moderate, mainstream swing district where it makes people feel good.
But you've already made him the nominee. I'm talking
Not
about
yet.
the race. No, but I'm talking about the race for the nomination.
Right.
Now, many states have crossovers, I understand, but the states in which you have to be a Democrat in order to vote in the Democratic primary, that's where
And
you have
Koki,
to
You know who's going to oppose him? Have to do it subtly, and maybe they won't be able to actually say it. The people who really have to fear in the Democratic coalition, Barack Obama as the nominee, is Al Sharpton, Jesse Jackson, a whole superannuated collection of so-called civil rights leaders. They see this man who really knows that the principal problem with African Americans in this country is not racism, it's cultural questions.
And Sharpton has been leaning a little bit more heavily towards Hillary than he has for Barack. But Koki, the other thing we've seen so far in the polling on the Democratic side is Barack Obama is getting the same voters that Paul Tsongas, Bill Bradley got, the elite voters, and Hillary Clinton's getting the hardcore blue-collar Democrats.
And that's the real question: is he the Whole Foods candidate?
Exactly. He used to be the Volvo candidate.
of this election. And a lot of people think that's exactly what he is, and that when primaries actually happen, he will fizzle out
how many people
as Whole
have a
Foods
toothache?
candidates
And less
do.
black voters do
How
get
many
it.
people have a toothache and they're going to go to the dentist they've known all their lives?
Which is exactly what you
I
said.
think,
right. But
I would say that
again,
more than
I just
fewer.
feel there's a different texture to this. It just feels different from that.
That is the question. You saw him on Iraq. He didn't want to commit, although I thought he was signaling that he could vote for a compromise on the war funding.